And welcome back to the Donald Kent Martini Lounge, where we have the finest jazz and the finest comic book inking known to mankind. No, just back in the studio doing what I do, back in action again. Another chill stream. It was nice doing this last night with y'all, and I've been out of the game for a while and getting back in the game, setting up some new interviews. Yiz the Unifier, if you know her. I'm talking to her about setting up an interview. Just a visit on the show. We haven't figured out quite yet what we'll talk about, but she produces a lot of content for the white well-being sphere. There is a phenomenal musician by the name of Hollandier, who is from Denmark, and he's well known within the White Art Collective. We're setting up a schedule to have him come on the show, feature his music. He's an interesting guy, very based type of dude, you know. His music is very traditional. I should say that it's based very much in tradition. You know, he uses synthesizers and things like that, so it's an interesting, I don't know, mixture of old and new. I feel very much like I would like to do some vocals over his music. I think that would be a really neat thing to do. Give my voice and my singing, songwriting a different context. Could be quite interesting. You know, as a songwriter, that's almost like being an actor in a different kind of movie. You know, and you're responding to a different environment, you know. We'll see how that goes. So, as usual, I kind of hammer out the panels, get everything nicely defined, and then go from there. This is the scene in the story of Militia Man where they get called to action. They were just at a huge rally, and they got the call, you know, from their boss. You know, it is something's up. You know, go do some crime stopping. And so they're flying in, and so like the Avengers have something called the Quinjet. Don't ask me why it's called the Quinjet, but anyway, that's what it is. And it's just this really funky, cool sort of spaceship for superheroes that, you know, gets them to their adventures and stuff. So, gotta have their own Militia Man Maga Force Quinjet here. Those are fun to design. I think when I was a kid, stuff like Star Wars and these kinds of sci-fi shows really excited me a lot as an artist, because the designs of the characters and the spaceships and the guns and the robots and all that stuff was just so freaking cool. So that influenced me a lot to draw, and I think, you know, when you're young and you don't actually know how to draw, you're kind of stumbling through it and you're trying to copy things and stuff, and not really the easiest thing to do. But yeah, there we go. And, so if you guys want to chat at all, I will periodically check the chat in this video. see who's here, what they have to say. You know, there's always something interesting. Somebody's got something interesting to chit chat about. Um, yeah, I've been out for quite a while, and I'm just kind of creeping my way back in. Trying to make some good content. Get back on the horse with anything to do with the White Art Collective, and feature those guys. There's a lot of new people in the art collective, so try to get back to that. Regular shows are sometimes hard to do because life happens, and whatever, you can't make it, you can't pull it together. And it's not really always me. It could be the guest couldn't make it for whatever reason that night or something. You got caught a cold or who knows what. There's any kind of reason. So it's very Halloweeny out where I live right now. It's the weather and the decorations and all of this. So like the Halloween mood is very much in the air right now, which I like. I mean, I have to be honest. There's always a sense of a little bit of sadness in terms of like, oh, summer's over, that kind of thing. But we still have like a good ways to go with like beautiful, beautiful trees changing. I like fall. Fall to me is my favorite season. I feel very kind of at home in fall, if you will. Like it's just super. For me, it's very natural. It's like a major creative time for me usually. So that's nice. It's interesting how certain times of the year affect me creatively. That's kind of a funny thing to think about. It's like, how could you be more creative in fall than any other time? But like, I think with summer, you're compelled to be outside more. There's just more happening socially, and so you're not in the studio as much. I think that is pretty fair to say. Let's see if anyone is here. Take a look. Yeah, we got a couple peeps. See if anybody has any comments. Welcome to the chat. Top chat. Well, say hi and introduce yourself. All right, is the music too loud? That I would like to know. I think I'm gonna get right into the meat of this. This ship here is kind of a complicated structure, so I'm gonna sort of try to focus on that. Quite frankly, these kinds of ships are very hard to draw well. There's a lot of guys in comics that are phenomenal with architecture and gadgetry. I'd say that it's one of the most important skills you can have in comics. Takes a good while to, I think, get competent at it. I think one of the harder things to do is to know how to light these things. Like I'm just so used to working with like just anatomy, like human anatomy, which is much more organic, and it's just something I'm more familiar with, you know. So it's easier for me to work with the lighting and the shadows. And here you've got this is really hard mechanical shapes, you know. So they're not flexible. It's not like facial muscles, you know, that stretch and turn and twist. Like I said, if the music's too loud or something, you can let me know. I don't want it to be irritating. I know that the oops, the audio isn't that great. Vertibach is here. Hey Don, sounds fine, cool. I is here. Music is good. Missed you. Miss you too. Jesus, le Jesus. Hey, duder. How we doing, dude? Jay Lewis is here. Glad to see you back, man. Yeah, as I was saying earlier, I'm planning on doing more regular streams. Got a lot going on in the in life, and those things are sort of kind of getting squared away and kind of settling down a bit more. So I feel like it's really time to get back on the horse. Um, I'm always wheeling and dealing different projects. Um, the kind of the world I live in is one in which you get people that offer freelance work, and then when I don't have freelance work, I return to projects that I have for myself. So it might look like I'm all over the map, but I would say actually not, because you gotta make money, you know, doing your art. And when people, you know, I don't take all the jobs. In fact, I've turned down more jobs than I take because maybe I just doesn't appeal to me, you know, whatever the particular work is. Um, I'm really looking for those kind of high value commissions where it contributes to my portfolio. I think the best case was when I did for my buddy CG at Radio Ruin. I did that commission of it was a large painting of the sacking of Jerusalem by the Roman Empire. If you go back into my old live streams, you can find that. It took a long time to do. That was a big project, but I think an epic project. And again, it's like things like that. They for me, I would say they sort of add to my legacy. You know, in a sense that they add to my portfolio of what I'm about. You know. How am I gonna make this work here? I think I might have to freehand this. I don't like to freehand mechanical shapes, architectural shapes. Uh-oh, we're gonna have some battery issues. Nice. Come on. All right. Looks like I was probably out for a little while because my battery jammed, or didn't jam. I got like a notification. So hopefully I'm back. Am I back? Are you guys seeing and hearing me okay? Looked like my phone jammed for a second. So anyway, we're back. Hang tight, I got a little thing to fix up here. I actually feel like the music's a touch too loud. I'm just going to turn it down here. Okay. I know. And if you guys haven't seen, this is my book. If you guys aren't familiar with my book, you can look this up on Amazon, Imperium Calling. Let me back out a touch. The Art and Poetry of Donald Kent. It's on Amazon. If you know my website, kent-art.weebly.com, you can find it there as well with lots of other goodies. Blah blah blah. So yeah, this is essentially a collection of my art. I've got a foreword by Countercurrents writer. We've got some poetry in here, you can see, and then some of my original paintings, some various other artworks, portraits, things that I've done over the time that I've been in the dissident right, and then some older pieces. This is the piece I was just talking about, the sacking of Rome. Now this is a duplication of an old Italian painting, so it's not an original, but it is a commission, and it's something I put a lot of time into, so I'm adding it here. I've got some of my comics in here. This was written by John Della Rose, big guy in Comicsgate. This is cover art that I did for that. Really, really, really great stuff. So please check that out on Amazon if you can. And now back to our regular scheduled programming. So how you guys been? How you surviving the end of the world? Huh? Just watched the Bitcoin stocks crash today. It's just like the line going, oh, you know, just literally like an airplane crashing. But it'll come back up and down and up and down. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. So I have a question for you guys. How different would the dissident right be without the White Art Collective? Like, how did the White Art Collective impact the community? And what value did they bring to the community and to the cause? That, I think, would be a very interesting thing to have people respond to. I've mentioned this on other shows, there is a new generation, I guess, of White Art Collective creators coming in. And I did actually start having these guys on the show, and then life threw me a pretty huge curveball, and I had to kind of drop out for a bit, but I'm going to be pursuing that again, going back in to get these guests on the show. Oh, hey, you get to see some of my haywire. All right, and we're back. Let me zoom in for you. You can see this a bit better. Only working with the most expensive, sophisticated tools here in the Donald Kent studio. Not, but anyway, we'll get by. All right. So yeah, we really, I don't know. Honestly, ever since the election got stolen, things changed a lot everywhere, you know, and it wasn't like just us. Obviously, I think there were a lot of changes all over America, certainly online in the culture, etc. And I would say that people kind of went and started doing their own things, you know. Um, and I don't think that's a terrible thing. I think that that's kind of a natural thing. Uh, but we didn't have as many shows as we used to. We didn't quite have the same momentum, I guess, that we used to. So I'm gonna have to work this out with pencil in a second here. Things change. This is life, you know. But regardless, there was a really, really great run there that I'm very proud of. Tremendous amount of different people that brought a lot of different skills and arts to what we do. You know, very good. Nice. Yeah. Of course, there's one ruler that I can't find, and this only happens when I'm live. You know, it's like otherwise, be like, oh, there it is. You know, but it'll be fine. I'll make do. It's kind of neat to see it go from pencil to ink and how it sort of magically comes alive. You know, it's a certain pleasure in inking from doing that. There's this little character here. We got a few comments in the chat. Let me take a quick peek. What do we got here? Wow, a lot of comments. Hard to say that, but I always loved listening to you guys. Cool. Good to see you, Bodacious. I says, and I think the White Art Collective offered and offers refinement and beauty to our cause. I read an applicable piece in IM 1776 about the aesthetics of the right, how we need more artists and creators, right? Very good. Vardabach says, I had some ideas since you guys last did convos and talked about using propaganda as a proactive. Excellent. We'll talk about it in the future with Nellis and you. Dude, let's do it, like, soon, okay? Why don't you come on the show and we'll talk about that. It's always an interesting topic. I says, lots of more proficient thinkers and writers have offered their opinions on this very subject. Yeah, it's interesting. This gets a little nerdy, but within the White Art Collective, there's other people who are sort of adjacent to us that are just out there on their own, doing their own thing. You've got my buddy Gio, Giant Geo, and his talks on aesthetics and pop culture. You've got Pill Eater, very interesting, eccentric friend of mine. There's a kind of new girl on the scene who goes by the name Gifts Ungiven, who I reached out to her actually when she first appeared on Twitter, but she's only now starting to really put out more content. And so there's actually a lot of people talking about the arts, you know. Um, the White Art Collective isn't kind of like, doesn't have a monopoly on the topic or whatever, you know. Um, I think the thing that a lot of us are concerned about is the kind of, how do I put this, like, we're living, especially Twitter right now is very much a kind of a grifter sphere, and I'm not knocking grifting. I mean, I was just trying to sell my book a minute ago, right? I think that there's just nothing wrong with trying to sell your wares. Like, if you're in this movement and you've got books or art or what have you, your music, what have you, then sell it, and I really believe that we should be supporting our creators. So I don't have an issue with that. But there is a challenge with artistic integrity. There's always going to be that topic of, well, are you, what dictates the art? Is it what's popular, what's trendy, these kind of things? So, like I said, it's a little nerdy to get kind of real deep into that topic, but it is significant for artists. It's like a big subject that we kind of are concerned about. The other thing too is that, like, no one of us can say, like, I am the authority on, or I represent the entire art sphere in this movement, and then beyond that, there can be like aesthetic differences, da 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 da. So, like, I personally don't engage in any sort of infighting on these kind of topics. I'm all about, white unity, but you're gonna have disagreements. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not gonna be all kumbaya, my lord. There's gonna be some heated debates about things. But there you go. I mean, it is what it is. I don't make that my personal way of going about things. I don't knock people who do. If everything is in the marketplace of ideas, and your ideas have to hold up, so you've got to be able to defend them, me included. I don't get any kind of free pass, right? If I'm going to be talking about, I don't know, comics or music or what have you, then, and somebody challenges me on that, I've got to be able to defend my position. That's fine, but it doesn't need to be done in a way that is like kind of mean-spirited or immature in any way. So that's kind of where I'm going, or where I'm coming from on this, is like respect of working towards the same end. So there it is. But artists are kind of typically pretty passionate people. So there you go. You're gonna have those differences. Like, I'll say, for example, like Emily Yukis, for example. She is artistically the total opposite of me as an artist creator. She's highly talented, highly skilled. She's very punk rock. She's kind of bold and brazen, and just like comes in a room and takes over all the space in the room, and I admire her a lot, and her husband as well, with NJP, etc. But I don't have the same aesthetic sensibility, and I wouldn't make art the way she makes art, you know, like rap videos or something, or something. But I recognize how talented she is, you know. I wouldn't say buy a CD of hers, but I would totally share it and promote it, you know. I mean, I think that's a case by case scenario. There's some of her work that I do really like. She's done a lot of collaboration with Hyrith, which is fantastic. And that's like a whole other side of Emily Eucas. I think it's more gentle, more feminine in a way. But that's all fine and dandy. That's like she's an artist, she's her own person. She dictates what she wants to do and in what ways she wants to do it, you know. Anyway, what am I doing here? I'm looking up this one character because I need to see the design of his costume. That's another part of the difficulty of doing these type of comics, is that all of these characters have like highly detailed costumes that, and you have to have your reference sheets like this, so you know. I can't seem to find it either. So what I would do then is maybe look at a different page in the book, and let's see. No, yeah, I'm gonna have to look at some other. Maybe I'll pass on that for now since I'm live. Wow. You see, it's like juggling and riding a unicycle at the same time. Anyway, let's see what you guys are talking about. We got a little political convo going on in here. Let's see. I says lots of. Oh yeah, we did that. He says I love Nerd Away. I love to hear it. I follow Goyim TV. I love Goyim TV. Fantastic resource. Goyim TV and their art and music guys are remarkable and incredibly talented. You know, you just gave me an idea. I'm gonna go on there. I'll reach out to those guys, see if I can get them on my show. Thank you for letting me know. Talented. I know they're unpalatable to the mass market. Yeah, because telling the truth is not marketable. There's patriotic arts in the UK, so you know, there you go. Once again, like, I've been so out of it, I need to be thinking like that as well. I'm connected with them through Mark Collette, etc., so that should be pretty easy. He says, I bought your Elizabeth Warren print and Imperium Calling. Thank you, and I will always support you. I'm deeply grateful to hear that. Thank you, man. I've been getting kind of beat up a bit recently, so it's good to hear that. Thanks. I know we need to put our money where our mouth is. Vote with your dollars, so to speak. That's really, really well said. I remember her talking about Emily Eucas. What happened to her a few years ago was incredibly saddening. Are we talking about Emily Eucas? Lost her job and was disparaged because of her opinions. Supposedly, though, we have free speech. Oh, yeah, sure. You know, free speech is just hate speech, though, right? Isn't it? Right? Exhausting. It's also tiresome, right? But yeah, I can't keep track of all the news. I know that these things happen. I would imagine Emily Eucas had probably gotten like pretty severely attacked because she's so outspoken. But anyway, there you go. I had the pleasure of meeting her at the White Art Collective Music Festival a couple years ago. It was one of those like most epic moments of my life. Not meeting her, but performing at the festival. Deeply meaningful to me and the community. I have a link to that show on my channel, so if you kind of look around, you know, you'll find it. There's it's like all day and all night, so there's a lot of content, and I was one of the last acts to go on in the evening at night, So I've got like part 2 of uh, White Art Collective Music Festival. And you kind of have to fast forward a little bit to get to the live section, but it's, some of the best. It's, I don't know how to say it. I'm super proud of it. Of course, I rehearsed like crazy, and it was really neat having uh, Luke Mason play bass. And Luke's coming from another state in the country. So like he had to figure out my songs on YouTube. And then like, and we didn't have any time to rehearse. It was just plug in and go. And like if you rehearsed your parts, then you're good to go. And then we were just flying by the seat of our pants. And so that's rock and roll, folks. That is rock and roll. And the other interesting thing too is, so I played my guitar, and he played bass on the show, but he's actually a guitar player, and like a shredder heavy metal guitar player, like a crazy amazing, just phenomenal songwriter, incredible guitar player, da da da. And so for him to be on bass was really unique. The sound was very unique. But what's really special about Luke and what he brought to the show and to my music was a classical background. Some of you probably know, in a lot of heavy metal actually is rooted in certain classical music tropes, I guess. I don't know if tropes is the proper word, but structures, musical theory, and he's very knowledgeable about that. So he would do these counterpoint bass lines over my guitar rhythm parts and vocals that were like, wow, it just brought an entirely new quality to my work. And then just the energy of our friendship. Like he's a very high level martial arts guy, and we're both intensely passionate about white well-being, the movement, all of these things. So I mean, the synergy is just extremely powerful, as you can imagine. I really would like to do that again. I'd like to work more closely with him, be able to just work out with him, physically. That'd be great. But yeah, like I say, nerding out with Donald Kent. So what would make a man sit in his room and do the things I'm doing with this artwork? Like all these tedious lines and all of the storytelling. What could possibly drive somebody to do pages and pages of this? What do you get out of it, man? Well, this is the thing that I don't know if like the public even gets this or not, but and I don't mean to talk like artists are made out of mythology or something, but there really genuinely is a psychological personality type to being an artist that I don't think obsessive is the word. It's a different type of a thing, but let's see if you guys can see what I'm drawing here. But there's just a need. You can't not do it. You have to tell your stories. Even if I were living in a prison and I was just me and paper and pencil, I would still be doing these things, even if nobody ever saw them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's a bit of an internal dialogue that goes on with that, but I don't know how to say it. You're in God mode. You're creating out of the void. You're making things exist that did not exist previously, and it's a kind of magic. And I don't mean that in the goofy, rabbit in the hat sense. I'll say that the experience is magical. How about that? Is that a little less goofy? Um, that kind of comes back to other discussions about art in general, about, you know, like I just was watching another show on YouTube, and oh, actually, it was an interview of mine that I posted on Twitter. It was an interview from a couple of years ago in the UK. There was a show called Unwashed. Uh, they were very much plugged in with the whole Muslim migrant crisis in the UK, and at some point that that show crossed over into the White Art Collective, and then everybody we're doing shows and interviews, and it was really high energy. Um, and I just happened to stumble across it on the internet, and then I thought, oh wow, this would be a great listen. So I'm checking it out, and the discussion of like what artists need are freedom. They need freedom. That's the one thing that they need. And it's like, okay, fine. So what? We all need freedom. Well, no, and the freedom is largely money. The money to do these things. But for me and for people in the White Art Collective, it's the freedom from harassment. It's the freedom from the danger of being, I don't know, hurt in some way for making your art, that is white positive, that in any way is against the leftist agenda. That's freedom. You see what I'm saying? I mean, and I have a full-time job, I got a side gig, something, but I still do this. And this is like 90 pages of art I have to do, plus coloring, plus lettering, plus publishing, plus marketing. Is this ever going to get done? I must be insane, right? Well, maybe, from the normie perspective, that would be insane. But it's hard to explain, I guess. I don't know. Some people just don't get it. But I don't blame them for not getting it. I'll put it that way. Especially when it's so kind of hard to explain. But that really struck me, though, that topic of freedom and how we all need freedom from harassment, or freedom from abuse. We all need to be living in a world in which we're not running, hiding, da 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 da. It's an old topic, I know. Uh, but if I don't know, I feel like you have to engage. You know. I need to take a look at something. Hold on. Like I said, sometimes you gotta look at some old references, because that guy has a very specific suit design, and I don't want to screw it up. The good news with doing comics is that you can always go back in Photoshop when it's done and fix it there if need be. There he is. That's my guy right there. That's the one I'm looking for. All right. Red Rover is the name of this character. When it's colored, you'll see that he's red. But there's a game called Red Rover that we played as kids. I don't know if you guys played it or know about it, but it just struck me as a cool name for a character. It's kind of like a Rocket Man. I think DC has a character called Red Rocket. I'm my comics nerds out there should be able to tell me that or not, but can't quite remember. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'll back out a little bit if I can. There we go. Sort of see what's going on. What else? I think that's about it. I have to get all those pages back in order. So let's see what you guys are chatting about here. I remember her. Yes, Emily. True, the release of your imagination is needed. It is a form of magic. The imaginative, creative aspect of magic is not often discussed. So, that opens up a, a big can of worms, a very interesting topic. I have not announced this on the show because I haven't sort of formalized it yet. But I have a new show that I'm hoping to do, or I'm planning to do, I'll put it that way. And what the new show will be on this channel is essentially my research and development on Vrill meditation. So Vrill, V-R-I-L, many of you would know from the Vrill Society, I think we in our sphere know what that is, what that means, so I don't, I'm not going to go too deep into the esoteric stuff there. But it's said that Vrill is Qi from Qigong, which is a kind of Chinese yoga. It would also be known as prana in Hinduism. In sort of Western science, you might call it bioelectric energy. There's a bunch of other related terms that are kind of based in quantum physics. The morphogenic field, you can look that up. Neuroplasticity is related to it. That's more about neurology, the use of the brain in this context. And so I purchased some books, and I'm going to learn the kind of pagan methodology for meditation through people that I know in our sphere that are kind of helping me out with this project, and compare it to my 30 years of Chinese Qigong experience. And so far, the point of it is to ultimately provide a meditation system for our people, that is rooted in German or Germanic spirituality, I guess. It's actually not technically like spirituality. Again, I like I said, I've got a long way to go to formalize this, which is why I haven't announced it yet. But I'll just kind of talk about it a bit. I can tell you for sure that what I'm finding so far in my studies is that Vrill is Qigong, but it's much, much more. Another aspect of this that I'm bringing into it is the study of hermetics. I realize that these topics are very taboo for Christians, and I'm not trying to turn it into a religious subject per se. That's why I shouldn't have said that earlier. Because the way that I describe Qi or Vrill is as a kind of fuel. So think of every religion as a different car, but imagine if there was a type of fuel that could make your car fly. Wouldn't you want to try that? You know what I'm saying? So if you're a Christian or Asatru or what have you, you would want to access this kind of energy. And it plugs into a lot of other things that are related to the mystery schools. And again, I'm cautious to talk about it too much because I don't have expertise in it. Um, Interestingly, though, there's a lot of people in our sphere that have already kind of dove into this. And since I came out and was like, okay, I'm on this project, I want to create this sort of Vrill Studies show, I've had a lot of people come up and say, oh, I would love to help you with that. I'm very, these are the things that I learned. These are the books I read. Watch out for this. Check out that. Be careful of the other thing. And it's been really cool. It's been really, really cool. So I don't know kind of how it's all going to pan out, but I think ultimately there'll be some very, very good stuff in the end. Um, and there you go. So I'm going to talk about some esoteric stuff. There it is. I had this discussion a bit with Luke Mason. Again, you guys know him as a martial arts guy in our sphere. We talked about him earlier. And he really had a very genuine reaction when he and I were talking about Qigong privately. He doesn't have that, I don't think that he has much of that or any of that in his martial background. You'd have to ask him. I can't speak for him. But he's aware that it exists. He knows about it, as a lot of people do. And then he was saying, could you explain it to me? And I was having a hard time explaining it. And then I just kind of copped out and said, like, it's too hard to explain. And then he said, when you say that, then it makes me not believe it. And that I don't say it upset me, but it got me thinking like, oh shit, I can't cop out. If you can't fucking explain something, then how do you expect people to believe that it's real, So I thought, okay, you'd better figure this out. You got to get this, So that is the stuff that I'm working on for the show, is pulling together the various, evidences and resources to say, like, this is what this is. Give me 1 second, I'll show you an example. So just a quick example, like Chi magazine, this is kind of something in the Kung Fu world, it's blah, 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 people who are already in it and know about it and the tradition of it, they know, yada yada. You can just see it's just a magazine on the topic. There's a problem with the westernization and the commercialization of Qigong, of these energy meditations, because there's a lot of people out there that just kind of float their hands around and say fancy words and think they're selling you Qi, but it's not. There's an internal energy meditation that you have to learn to set up. There's a whole other world of how it how it plugs into the forces of nature: north, south, east, west, fire, water, air, earth. It's wow. It's a complex topic. And so you figure, like, this has been the medicine in China for 5,000 years. It probably works. It's like, if it's been there for 5,000 years, maybe there's something to it, So, but it's my problem or my challenge to figure out how to talk about it to this audience. So, does that make sense? I think so. All right. We're nerding out like crazy tonight. What else is in the chat? Let's look. Hippocratic Oath is here. Welcome. I'm glad you're back again tonight. Rupert Sheldrake's morphogenic fields. I can't say who came up with the term morphogenic fields. In the course of my doing the artwork that I do, I listen to audiobooks, lectures, podcasts. I mean, I've been doing this for years and more than a decade. So I've like so much information, but I'm not the guy that remembers all the names and the dates. So it's enough to know morphogenic field. There's a biospiritual hereditary aspect of imagination as well in a Jungian way. So now you're tapping into something here. Carl Jung is very, very much a doorway into these topics. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like there's not enough hours in the day to know all these things or learn or do all these things. But I'm kind of happy that I can say that, over many, many years that I've come to put the pieces together enough to figure it out. Now, the next step would be to come up with a system that is teachable to you guys and then pass that on, you know. And so there you go. It's interesting about Carl Jung too, in terms of his relation to Sigmund Freud and Freud being a Jew, all that stuff. It's like, it's pretty crazy. Anything and everything we do, the Jews somehow have to get their hands in there to fuck it up, and turn it into a weapon. If it's, falsifying our history. Just okay. Do you guys remember Frame Game? He was like a popular Jewish alt-right vlogger on YouTube back around maybe 2015, 16. I used to like him. I used to listen to his show, and it was always like, oh, he's a Jew and he's for white identity and white sovereignty, so he's one of the good ones. Well, he just got doxxed, and turns out he works for the State Department now, and he was in law school, and he apparently Luke Ford just recently did a vlog on this. He was part of a de-radicalization program. A de-radicalization program. So the point being, like, yeah, I'm here. I am speaking to white identity, and I'm part of the alt right, and I'm taking hits with the rest of you guys. I'm one of you, and but all for the purpose of de-radicalizing us. So it's just another psychological psyop. You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately, what they want you to do is nothing. Just don't do anything. Just sit back and die. Just die off. Don't complain. Here's your football. Here's your beer. Here's your pizza. Here's your drugs. Here's your porn. Here's your processed food. Don't do anything. So I don't know. It just it's upsetting to think like that. But I mean, by now I know better. But of course, at the time, it's just it's like can't remember his name. Gage is his last name. You guys must know him on Twitter. Something Gage. He's an ex-Marine, bald Italian American guy who is super hardcore on calling out the Jews. But he's got a really oh, I don't know, like a very rational approach, very like fact-based approach. And he of course he's getting death threats from Jews all the time, and he's somehow able to get their IP addresses, so he knows who they are and where they are. But he's calling out for the quote good Jews to come out and get into the conversation and like you know police the ones that are trying to kill the rest of us. And you know yeah, there's the onesies and the twosies and stuff, but statistically, it's just not panning out. And what can you say about it? I mean, it's a little hackneyed at this point, but you always wish that that would happen. You always wish that somehow the whole thing would snap and people would fucking finally get it and be like, okay, like let's stop what we're doing. Let's be rational. Let's figure out a way to back away from the nightmare of what's coming. You know. Let's see if you guys are what you're talking about up here. It is in the Christian sense, the kingdom of God is within you. This is perfectly said. The What's the relationship of God and chi or Vrill? I mean, I can tell you the things that I'm learning. I can't state them authoritatively, but and then beyond that, there's the trouble that people have belief systems, and if you say anything outside of that, immediately they just turn you right off. They just turn you right off. So I'm not gonna stop because of that, and I hope that whoever can benefit from this study, Christians of course included, naturally. I would say that maybe Christians can try to look at the Gospel of Thomas. Again, it's all going to depend on how, I don't know what the word is, like how open they are, frankly, to like when you mention Gnosticism, a lot of Christians will freak out. It's not. I guess it is a kind of heresy from the church's perspective, but this is to say that, just kind of throw it right out there, that God is the sum of all consciousness, that we are, the soul of our soul is God, and we are the individuation of God. Therefore, we should be able to tap into the powers of God, which is to think of something and it occurs, what they call manifestation. Right? that's some heavy stuff, and again, I'm really more like the messenger guy. It's not like I'm trying to paint myself out like some kind of guru or something. continue reading here. The State Department is infested with them. Yeah. Thomas said the same thing. Really, look within. So, in the Gospel of Thomas, essentially, it's it's not like what Thomas wrote. It's him saying, Jesus said this and Jesus said that. So it's just like a direct translation of things that Jesus said. And apparently there was some kind of situation where Thomas was taken aside privately with Jesus and then given like a special private lesson. And then when he came back to the apostles, disciples, they were very anxious. You know, what did he teach you? Like, why did he give you a private lesson and not the rest of us? What is it that he taught you? We want to know. And Thomas was like kind of flipped out. He was sort of like, if I tell you, you will stone me to death, but then those stones will rise up and burn you to death. And that's essentially a paraphrasing, and it is an extremely weird thing to say. You know, like, what the hell does that mean? You know, but the bottom line, to save you the time and whatever, is that I would say that essentially that the Gnostic teachings are the teachings of how to become Christ. So, you know, the notion that you have to rely on someone outside of you for your salvation is apparently not the true teaching. And so, yeah, I get it. I know. I'm not trying to challenge anybody. I'm just the messenger. I'm just sharing the things that I have learned. But coming from like a Buddhist background, that's exactly the way we approach things. Is, you know, like the Buddha isn't, you don't put your, you can have faith in Buddhas, and that does have its own spiritual technology. But you're meant to save yourself. And it's just all the methods of how to do that. You know, all the cosmology, the psychology, the meditation forms, etc. So I don't know if that's helpful to anyone. Sometimes I wonder if I shouldn't talk about those things, because they're pretty heavy and pretty weird to the average person. I don't care what people think about me, you know, per se. I'm not like limited by that, but I don't want to confuse people, though. I don't want to sort of turn them off to these things. That's why I feel like doing kind of setting up a nice show that has good content to it and is like, oh, okay, yeah, I see the reference here, I see the reference there. That makes perfect sense, you know. It's less damaging, or it's more productive, frankly, you know. But one of the things I've been doing is just posting little videos that I find on YouTube, and I'll post it on my Twitter. And these are things that are related, obviously, to this topic, you know, so that like eventually, when I really get into this, there'll be lots of reference material already on my page. You know. Um, hmm. This music sort of kind of reminds me of like that Snoopy's music, you know, which is nice. Gerard something or other. I can't remember his name. Um, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, though. But it does kind of have like a holiday mood to it, you know. It's sort of a slightly Christmassy feeling going on here. Is it too early for that? Should I break out the Mariah Carey? I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. I actually knew one of the dancers in the Mariah who worked for Mariah Carey. He went to my kung fu school. So, super guy. Black dude, very just a sweet guy who's really interested in learning Buddhism, Shaolin Kung Fu, all this stuff. Insane athlete, like off the charts, like crazy. I was actually the like the top student at Shaolin at the time, and then he came back from touring with Mariah Carey, and then he, kind of came back to school, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's back," da da da. And I'm like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you," something something, and then he like made me look like like a newbie, with his kung fu was so freaking off the charts, like Olympic level stuff. And I was like, "Oh, my poor ego." But it's all good. I think in the end, it was you're really only challenging. You're only working against yourself per se, right? All right. So this is coming along. Let's see what you guys are chatting about. You guys have any questions? Let's see. We're getting into Dostoevsky territory here. Holy crow. Thomas. Okay, let me read what you're talking about. You guys are off and running. Let's see. The music just stopped for no reason. Spiritual Hereditary, Carl Jung, State Department. Look within. Thomas alone among the apostles touched the risen body of Christ because he doubted, right? True, the internal and there is the external. Introspective, extrospective. Interesting. Dostoevsky's Footnotes from the Underground is pretty profound, somewhat related to this. Into the human condition and all that, yes. Hippocratic Oath says, I forgot which company is going to stop substitute Juneteenth for Christmas Eve day off. Wow. the old holidays are going away. God, this is what I mean. Like, oh, just don't do anything. It'll all work itself out. No, our culture, our heritage, our history, our identity, everything about us is being attacked, destroyed, warped, killed. You know, it's not gonna stop unless we stop it. And I don't know. I mean, it's you can argue whether or not art and music and this is a real weapon in the culture war. I believe it is, but it's not going to be enough. There's going to need to be a lot more action, a lot more unity, a lot more activity. Hippocratic Oaths says that he found, I'm assuming it's an article, Emory Healthcare removes Christmas Eve as paid holiday, replaces it with Juneteenth. you know, it's like, no, it's white replacement's just a theory. Don't do anything and it'll just go away. Oh, and it's just another chip. It's another brick in the wall, as they say. Yeah. Hmm. Right, let's see what's going on in the chat here. What have you got? Bodacious says, just saw your Telegram post on Vile Radio. Do you know what became of that guy? Um, I'm really mad at myself because I'm blanking out on his name, and I really like him, but I just stupidly at the moment I can't remember his name. It's really been a couple years, honestly, since we've spoke. So forgive me, but anyway, he was a very popular blogger in the time with like Tony Robbins. And we're talking what's going on in the UK, where you know there was a kind of a little I don't know media entourage around Tony Robbins and everything he was doing against the Muslim invasion of the UK. And so there were kind of spin-off projects with different media developers, and he was one. And so Unwashed was the name of his show. It's a British thing. I don't, to me, I would never name my show Unwashed, but I think the idea was that like we're raw, we're honest, like we're not, prim and proper. We're gonna just tell the truth. That's I think that the gist of it. Anyway, at some point, he had gone to all of these rallies in England where all these different people were coming together to protest the migration, forced migration issue. And there were all kinds of people there that were, born in England, in Britain, and not all of them white, definitely different generations, but all of them against the changing of the demographics. But I will say that it was kind of largely like I know this sounds contradictory, but kind of like a big hippie festival. There were music and people chanting in the streets, and everyone was all decked out in their crazy gear and all this kind of stuff. And I think, he really comes from that culture. He used to be a DJ, just because he kind of woke up to the problems of, demographic replacement doesn't change the culture that he came from. So he had a big, he basically turned against the rest of us. He was like, he has a show called My Year with the Fascists. And he asked me to like take down the interview I did of him that's on my channel, which I respectfully did. But I said to him, like, I'll always be your friend. I love you and I respect you, and you got your own way of thinking and being, and I just don't want to lose your friendship. It's not like we hang out or talk frequently or anything, but I didn't want it to leave on kind of a bad note. So it didn't work out so well with other people. There was a lot of I don't know, argument, I guess, about him doing that. That was his choice, and he did it, and that's that. So these two worlds got disconnected. They got disconnected, and that's what happened. And his show was like a lot of music. He would play, just all kinds of cool bands and stuff, and there's banter. He had like a lot of you get a lot of like internet friends. You get a lot of internet friends when you do these shows, which is freaking awesome because it like in some way you're like attracting like-minded people and like you guys, who all are totally awesome in your own right, and you've got your own knowledge base and your own sense of humor, and you know, we all kind of give we make each other more than what we are alone, you know, that kind of some of the parts or something or other. So his crowd of friends on his shows were really funny, cool guys, and I'm like an Anglophile. I really really love British culture. I mean, I love, you know, French culture, German culture. So it's not like I like Japanese culture, you know, but being part English, it means a lot more to me, as you can imagine, right? You know, I'm trying to kind of connect with a culture that I have ethnic ancestry with, right? So anyway, so for me that was kind of a neat experience for a while, you know, while it lasted. So things change, you know, people change, circumstances change, you know, that's the nature of things. How long is this show gonna go on? I don't know. You guys are. I'm really grateful that you're. And I don't know how you can stand just watching me do all this inking for this long. But what I love is getting into these great conversations with you, though. You know. Um, I hope I don't embarrass myself nerding out too much. You know, with the various my topics of interest and whatnot. But I thank you for your presence and your friendship and support. Yeah, and so like I said, I'm really gonna try to get this channel up and running again. I'm not really comfortable talking about what knocked me off track, but I'm about to get back on the track. So that's what's shaking. That's what's going down, and you know, there's a certain amount of effort into it, and it depends a lot on people coming on the show, you know, and like schedules. You know, you got people in Europe and California or who knows where. So that's always a little bit of a tricky thing to work out. However, we're gonna do it. So I just spoke to Yiz. You guys know Yiz from the Jason Kuna sphere. Also, I mean, she is her own sphere now. She really has her own kind of gig going on. She's got that Discordant Dragon show. She just had Dave Martell on. And those two cross over very, very much. I cross over very much into the Dave Martell world, as you guys know. So I just feel like there's a lot of cool stuff on the horizon here. We're gonna do some cool stuff. Get into some good convos. Um, at the moment, I'm really just sort of primarily focusing on getting this going. I do have some irons in the fire for some other potential comics projects. But until that kind of gets off the ground or whatever, I'll just keep cruising along with what I got. But, you know, I owe the White Art Collective my everything, in the sense that for so many of us, it's kind of what created us, in a sense, in that it gave a cultural platform, a political context on which we could take all of our concerns and interests and put them into an actual art movement. And so, even though it's going through its own changes, and there's new people coming in and other people kind of moving on or what have you, it's a living entity in its own right. So I feel like I want to continue being a part of bringing that culture to you guys. And again, this channel is pretty you know, it's been fallow for a long time, so it's going to take time to get it back up. You know, the viewership back up again. Um, it's all fine and dandy. I guess I am kind of sort of feeling like I should wrap it up though. This has been a pretty long show. Um, that's essentially what I was trying to get across, is just my thanks to you guys for your presence and your friendship and support. I do ask that you share this video on your channels and your networks. Kind of, you know, get the word out that Donald Kent is, you know, kicking off the shows again, and see if we can get some momentum moving along. I'll be having some new guests coming up. It's going to be fun, you know. I don't have really a specific mission per se, other than just to give a platform for our culture. Um, there might be things. I mean, there's always something going on. I don't really want to get into the like political commentary sphere. There's enough of that out there already. Of course, we're going to talk politics. There's no escaping that. You know, I don't like stop that from happening. But anyway, I think you guys get the idea. So thank you so much for coming. It's been a blast. I'm gonna quick see if there's any other comments that I missed. Here, Sojin Khan is here. Welcome, Sojin Khan. Are you from Korea? I think that might sounds like a Korean name. You're welcome to our club here. Welcome. I did do a layover in Korea once on my way to Japan. 감사합니다. 여보세요. That's all I know. Kimchi. Sorry. Okay. Oaf says, Unwashed was friends with Thomas Baden Rice, whom I should know. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Thomas. You'll have to remind me. So I miss TBR's crazy rants. Yeah. Anyway, God bless you guys. Thanks so much for coming. It was a fun time hanging with you. More shows on the way, and I will wish you a good evening, and God bless.